Hello everyone, this is Jennifer from Jennifer Biedermann Jewelry. Welcome back to another video. Those of you who follow me know me that I'm a beader, I'm a wire weaver, and I do a lot of tutorials on that. But today we are going to learn how to make our own focal pieces out of clay. I've been posting a lot of my finished clay pieces on my closed Facebook page, Wired Wire Weavers and Beading Tips and Tutorials. And I've had a lot of people say, hey, can you do a tutorial on that? We'd love to know how to do that. So this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do a tutorial on it. Now, I'm a person who likes to use natural stones and actually other artists' focal pieces out of glass and things like that. But you know what? I discovered clay, and this is another way to make your own focal pieces as an artist and combine it in your work, whether it's beading or wire weaving. Here I'm going to show you some of my, I don't have any beaded work done of this yet, but I'll show you some of my wire weaves. I made this cab out of clay and I weaved it. And I made this one here as well, and I weaved. I didn't age it yet, but I'm going to do that. And there's so many endless designs you can do with clay. I'm really excited to share this with you. Really, the materials you're going to need to do this is, well, first of all, the type of clay you're using is important. It's got to be a clay that you can bake in the oven. And there's a lot of brand names out there. For example, you have Primo, you've got Fimo, you've got Souffle, you've got Polymer clay, all kinds of different brands, but they pretty much have the same thing. You bake it at 275, and depending on the size of your piece, that will determine the time, but I'll go into that later. So if you're new to clay, I wouldn't suggest buying yourself big 2-ounce packets of clay. These in Canada anyway, they're like $4 each. I'm sure in the US it's half price because everything is expensive here in Canada. So in the US it's probably like $2.50. But again, here it's like $4. So if you're not sure you want to work with clay but want to maybe try it out, you can get yourself a packet of all the colors if you go in your local Michael's store or any other craft store, you're going to see like you can get all the colors in one big package. But what I did was I just went out and bought a bunch of colors. I've been using Primo, Fimo. It does about the same thing. So I mixed them together. It's no big deal. What else do you need? You absolutely need one of these things. It's a cylinder piece here so that you can roll out your clay. You will absolutely need a clay knife as well. And these are the essentials that you need. If you're just starting, just get this. But if you're really going to get into clay, I would very much suggest a pasta machine or clay machine. Otherwise, you're going to be rolling, and the pasta machine just makes things a lot easier. I bought mine at the local Michael's store. It cost me $35. But again, in the US, it's probably half the price. So it's not that bad. You will need also either a plexiglass surface to work on, a flat surface, plexiglass, glass, or you know what, just a tile, which is what I'm using, an extra tile that I had. And what we're going to learn today is we're going to learn how to do some cabochons, focal pieces. And to do that, we need to make little veneers. And I'm just going to show you some that I've done. This is actually made with scrap clay. I'm going to show that in another video because don't throw away your scrap, guys, because you can come out with some great designs. Here I have another little design here. I made another one here. When I'm making these, I never know what's going to happen. I just go with it and see what comes out. This one got a little wonky here, but these are little veneers that I make. I'll show you a few here. Different colors you can use. This one's really interesting. This one also, as you saw in this piece. Now, this I haven't touched for about a month, and I just put it in parchment just to, you know, protect it from dust and stuff, but it doesn't dry. It will only bake in the oven. So this can stay for years and you can still use it. Okay. Here's another one. I'm not really sure about this one, but it's probably more of a Christmas type of cabochon I would make. And another one. So all kinds of variations, all kinds of things that you can make. And I'm not going to start with a, what do you call, a beginner's tutorial, because you know what? I'm going to go step by step by step and you'll be able to do it. Okay. So look what you can make. Look at this. And you can make it any size. It's just like a little veneer that I cut out. Isn't that amazing? So yes, I love natural stones, but you know what? Sometimes I want a little bit of pizzazz. And here there's a lot of different colors in there. I don't know if you can see it. All you see is white and gray, but there's some gold, there's some purple, there's all kinds of colors in there. And you can make little components for earrings, to make bead embroidery. Oh my God, it's endless. I'm so excited to show you this. So get your materials together or watch the video, see if you actually like it, and then go out and get your materials. That's what I did. I saw videos and I just went to my Michael's store and I just spent all kinds of money. So get your materials together or get... Okay, so first of all, what you want to do is choose your colors. And we're going to start by doing a blend. Okay, and what a blend is this. I did a few here on the side. This is with fuchsia and yellow. And see the nice blend it does? It changes the colors along the way. And that's just a 2-color blend. You can do a 3-color, 4-color, but we're going to just do a 2-color. Here's another blend. It's blue and, oops, I got something on there. Blue and white. And I've got some green and white and so on. Now, when I start a project or when I'm just bored during the day, I just make myself some blends. Because when you start a project, it can be time consuming and you just want to have everything prepared so you can put everything together. So, but I'm going to show you how to do a blend. By the way, there's lots of YouTube videos out there showing you how to do this. That's how I learned. Okay. So I have a white piece and I have a red piece, and I put this through the pasta machine. You can also roll it out if you want, to the thickest setting on your pasta machine. This is just about the size. You don't want it much thinner than that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set these two on top of each other. Again, there's a lot of videos out there. I still consider myself a beginner with this, so just bear with me. Okay, I'm just showing you what I learned. It is a jewelry channel. Everything to do with jewelry. So I'm just going to set that on top of each other, and then I'm going to cut it right across. This apparently is called a Skinner blend. Why do they call it a Skinner blend? Because someone named Skinner came up with this. Her last name is Skinner. She came up with this technique, apparently. That's what I heard. So now I'm just going to take this apart here, and I'm going to lay the red on red. Now, see on my red here, I have another color sitting here. I'm not going to worry about that and get all crazy, okay? Because it's all going to blend and you're not going to see it. And then I'm going to take my white and I'm going to do the same thing. So now I have a double of each, and I'm just going to put it together just like this. Now, when you're doing a blend, you have to decide, I'm going to show you another one of my blends here. Well, the fuchsia and the yellow. I've got pure fuchsia over here and I've got pure yellow over here, and then I've got a blend. Now, how that happened was I cut some pieces here so that I really keep the red and I really keep the white at the end. If you want a pure blend, you're just going to keep it like this. Okay, but I want to see some white and I want to see some red. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a bit here. Cut that piece off. I'm going to put this piece with my red pile. And I'm going to keep my white with my white pile. Don't throw out your scraps. Clay is expensive. Look, I know it's like $4 a pack, but when you're really working with clay, it goes fast. So now I have white here and red here. Now if I want a little bit more red, I'll just cut a little bit more. Just to make that side a little bit bigger. And what I want to do is knit this together. Knit it together, meaning you want it all to bond. Okay, you can use your roller to roll it if you want, like that. Knits everything together. Always pick up your clay with your knife. Just like that. And then I'm going to look at the other side, and I'm just going to push these two things together. Now, how do I put this through my machine? Well, because I want the red here and the white here, I'm not going to put it through this way. I'm going to be putting it through this way. Okay, so I'm going to put this, to get it to blend, it's going to take about 25 to 30 times. That's why I recommend getting a pasta machine, because rolling it out, go to the gym or something, because it takes a lot of effort. Okay, so invest. Again, Canada, it's like $35. US, it's probably half the price. So I'm going to put it in this way. And I'm putting it on the thickest setting. My machine is 9, maybe yours is number 1. So the thickest setting. So I'm just going to run it through. And it just made it a little bit longer. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just adjust everything, and then I'm going to fold it in half. And I want red on red. See? White on white. I'm going to fold that up. The way I'm putting it through the machine is where I folded it. So it's going in this way. So I'm going to go again. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Now we have this. It's just getting a little bit longer. Well, it's always going to stay about the same size, but you're going to see it blend. And then you just keep doing that, and you keep running it through your machine. Or if you like to roll it, go ahead and roll it. Now see what's happening here? I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to keep folding it and running it through my machine. See how it's starting to blend a little bit? I'm going to fold it again, run this side through the machine. So I'm going to stay with you a little bit to show you what happens. See what's happening? Continue on, and you're going to see what's going to happen. Now you're going to notice it start to bow. What I like to do is just adjust, but if you don't want to, just keep folding it, and then you'll cut it off at the end. So rather than you watching me run this through the machine time and time again, I'm doing this about 25 to 30 times. I will show you the end result when I'm done. I've done my blend, and as you can see, red to pink to white. Now, if you find you have too much white, go ahead and cut the piece off and put it with your white pile. If you find you have a little bit too much red, go ahead and snip that off. And what I'm going to do, and what I've learned, is always cut this in half. Half And then what we want to do is we want to make this a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this in half. I'm going to go down a couple, just two settings on the pasta machine and run it through this way to this way, just to make this piece longer. So that made it a little bit longer, and I think maybe I want it just a little bit longer, so I'm going to go down one more or two, and I'm going to run it through again. Now this is pretty thin. I don't want it thinner than this, otherwise it's going to be really difficult to work with, it's a little bit difficult now. It's sticking to everything. I want to decide if you want the dark in the middle or you want the light in the middle. That's why always I make two pieces so that I can change it up a little bit. So this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the light in the middle. And I'm just going to roll it up and whoops, see that's happening? Push it in. Now for this blend, I use souffle, and it's wow, it's so much different actually, and it's actually the same price. It's just that they don't have a lot of color variations, a lot of colors to choose from. But wow, if they had this in every color, that's all I would buy is souffle. Now I'm not going to do bevel cut. I don't know, it's like cut nice and smooth. I want as much fuchsia as I can get, and I'm just going to blend it in like this. I'm not going to reduce this just yet. I'm going to put these on the side. Now I want to show you something else you can do with a blend. I have two of these, so I'll show you something else you can do. I'll start, it doesn't matter which side, because we're going to do this in a fan fold. I'm just going to cut the end to make it straight, and I'm just going to do a fan fold. Now I'm going to show you what you can do with this, so don't worry. What we're doing is just doing blends. Again, do this on a rainy day. You're not feeling creative. Just go ahead and make some blends and put them aside because they don't dry out. They can stay for years. Okay, and then this little end here, I'm just going to cut off. It's a pure green that I use, so I'm going to put that in my green pile. So now I have this. We'll see what we're going to do. I have another long piece like this. I'm going to put it in a jelly roll. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to make some jelly rolls, and then we're going to show you what to do next. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have done a lot of jelly rolls, green and white, yellow and fuchsia, white and blue, white and red, blue and white, so the dark was in the middle and the white is around it. I did some fan folds, and I did a few rolls of pure colors. So I did two fuchsias and a yellow. Okay, so now the fun starts. Okay, so you have all this. Like I said, do this on a rainy day. If you're not creative, just make some blends and just. What I have is I have a box, you know, this box where I put, a lot of people put findings in, things like that. I just put my rolls in there, and because they're not going to dry out. Now, what I did off camera, and I didn't show you how to do this, I just did a stripe piece. So I just did on the thickest setting a white piece and a blue. I put them together and I cut and layered, and this is what happened. Okay? So now you kind of have to decide. Again, I don't have anything planned here. Okay? So what I think I'm going to do, let me put all this aside. I'm going to start with these lines here. And I have a little wooden dowel, which is the smallest. If you don't have any dowels, get a pen, get a pencil, doesn't matter what it is. And isn't this great? And then people think, oh, I don't want to distort it. Well, we are going to distort it. So I'm going to put this right down the middle, and I'm going to push this in to make a indent. Just going to make a little indent. And that's what we have. I may just do a little bit more of an indent. Now that I have this indent here, I need to fill this little spot, okay? So what I'm going to do is, let's see, fuchsia, yellow. You know what? I may just use the fuchsia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my roll. I'm just going to reduce a little bit. Just so that it fits in there, because any little indent you make, you have to fill it up. Okay? So I'm just going to reduce this little roll right here, which is a full color. It's not a jelly roll. Now, what I do recommend you do is always cut yourself a sheet and roll it. Okay, otherwise you're going to have some air bubbles in there, and that's what you don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that in there. Let's see what happens. This is so fun, this part. Don't think about it, just go with it. Okay, don't say, oh, do those colors go together? Everything's going to work out. So now that I have this little piece here, and I'm just going to, just push it up a little bit. Again, I'm going with my feeling. I'm going with what I want. And now what I need to do is I just need to fill in these parts, okay? Now, before I fill in those parts, what I want to do is put a line on top here. Not something that's going to take over my design, but something just to, what do you say? It's just to fill it. It's a line. You're going to put a line. And I'm just going to use my dowel again just to push everything in. So this is a very, very thin piece of black. Very thin. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut that little excess piece right there. So now I have this. Now, what I think I'm going to do is take, since I already have fuchsia here, I'm not going to use this jelly roll. I think I may use this green. And what I want to do is we start reducing. And by reducing, you don't want to just roll it out. You really need to push it in the middle. You want everything to stay nice and Nancy neat in the middle. So you're just, this is the part I don't like, is the reducing. If I could pay someone to do it, that'd be great. But, I'm not putting any pressure whatsoever. I'm just reducing, pulling, stretching. And this is the fun. Well, actually, it is the fun part. It's just playing with your clay. And you want it to be like very, just make sure you don't see any finger marks in there. So you can even do it with the palm of your hand. Now, obviously this is way too big. Okay, so I'm going to reduce, and I'm going to be back to show you what to do next. I've reduced it, and I'm checking to see if it fits into these grooves. It seems a little big, but don't worry. This piece needs to be lopped off at the end. So I'm just going to cut that off. And now we just have some green and some white. And I'm just going to lay that right in the groove. And I'm going to cut it off here. And I'm going to put another piece here. Now, wherever you see that a piece should be put in there, you need to put it in there. Because if you start reducing, like for example, there's channels here, right? So we need to fill those things in. I'm going to see about this. So I'm going to take my jelly roll, which is the dark blue and the white inside, and I'm going to reduce that. I'll reduce, reduce, reduce. And I'm just going to see what's happening here. Because what I'm going to do, I'm not going to reduce it too much. I'm just going to take my wooden dowel, which is my little wooden dowel. Where is it? Okay, so I didn't reduce it too much, but I'm going to take my little wooden dowel. Again, if you don't have any of this, just get yourself a pen or something. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press this down. Again, I'm just going with my intuition. Do what you feel. If you don't want to do this, don't do it. So I just made it into like, just squished it a little bit. And I'm going to push this wooden dowel in here. I'm going to make a little channel. Okay, so I have myself a little channel here. Doesn't look like much. And I think I'm going to use my yellow, and I'm going to, again, reduce this. I'll cut that off. Now, I have to decide where I'm putting this. I'm going to put it here, or you know what? I'm going to put it right here. Now, this is a huge piece, okay? But we're going to be reducing all this, okay? So now I'm just going to cut this little piece off. Now we have something like this. Now I'm just going to change its shape. I'm going to push it in a little bit. So now we have this. Just going to play with it a bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm just slice off a little piece, and I'm going to see what we have. So we have this. I think it's pretty interesting. But I'm not done yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 grooves along the side, and I'm using my wooden dowel, and I'm just going to push 2 so I can put something in there. And I'm going to do it on the other side. Now, always be careful to keep the shape of your piece. So I'm always paying attention to my lines. I don't want them wonky, which is happening right here, but we need to be really careful. So I just pushed in 2 pieces here. So now I'm going to decide what color I want to put in. Now I have my red. So I have my fuchsia, I have my green, I have my yellow, I have my blue, and I also have red here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce this red jelly roll in here. Remember when I put the black here? You can hardly see it. I think I'm going to wrap this in black. So I'm going to take my wrap, I'm going to wrap it in black. So I've got my black strip here. I always have my black handy, and I'm going to lay my roll here. I will cut it, put the rest of the black on the side, and I'm just going to cut it here right up to the edge. And what I'll do is just be extremely careful when I'm wrapping this because I don't want any air bubbles. So here is my red. I'm just going to just roll it, and then when I do this, there's going to be a line there right here if you see it, and I'm just going to cut it right there. And roll it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece in half right away, and I'm going to put one aside. I may use it for something else. I don't need it right now. So I'm just going to roll it. And then I'm going to take this piece and cut it directly in half. Now again, if your clay is hot, just put it in the fridge, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay it right here on the side. You don't see the red right now, but once we cut it again, we're going to see it. And I'm going to put this on this side. So I'm just building. Cut this off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pinch this into a triangle. And by doing that, you're just pinching it into a triangle. So I'm going to pinch it on top. I'm going to pay attention to my lines here on the side, making sure they stay straight. And if clay comes off, just maneuver it. And I'm just going to reduce this a little bit, and I'm going to be pinching and pulling because I cut it just now because it's hot. It's not showing everything, so I'm just going to put that up again. So this is what we have for now. Now I have these other elements. Remember I did these fan folds? Now I want to see what is going to look right. And I think, okay, so I decided not to use the green fan fold. I decided to use my yellow and fuchsia fan fold. And what I did was I just used my dowel, pushed in an indent, and then put my green bullseye or jelly roll that I reduced, and I just popped it in there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop it right on here. Making sure everything's aligned, and I'm just going to push it down. Now what I need to do is I'm going to fill in these spots right here. I have a lot of blue. I've got a lot of fuchsia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use my yellow that I have here. Not a blend, but a full yellow. Now you have to be careful with yellow, which I've learned, not to overwhelm your piece. This is all going to be reduced, by the way, okay? So I'm just going to make my little lines here, and I'm just going to fill that piece in right here. And I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to put it on the other side. So I'm going to take my piece of gold that I rolled out. Again, use whatever color you want. I don't want this to overwhelm my piece, and I'm not going to wrap it all the way around. I'm just going to put it right here. And I'm just going to wrap it right up to here. So now I'm going to cut it. This is a pretty complex cane for my first tutorial, but you know what? Step by step, you can get it, okay? It's not like rocket science, as they say. So now that I've wrapped it in the gold, now it's all wonky all over the place, but don't worry, because we're going to be... Now that I have this, I'm going to really push this into a triangle. So I'm going to push this down so that that part is flat right here. Paying attention to my lines, making sure everything stays the way it should, because otherwise I'm going to distort everything that's in the middle. So I really need to pay attention to these lines that they're staying straight. So I'm pushing this into a triangle, pinching the top. And let's go ahead and slice this and see what we have. So I'm going to slice this, and this is what I have. And now that I see that, I'm going to continue to just push it down into a triangle, sharp edges. Now, see when I push here, because I'm cutting right now, it's soft, it's hot, I would need to really put this in the fridge, but I'm just going to reduce it a little bit. I'm going to cut this side as well. And this is, I'm telling you, this is going to look fabulous. So I'm going to reduce this and elongate it. And how I'm going to do that is just pinch and pull and stretch it, keeping everything in its shape. I'm not going to distort anything. All we're doing is reducing. And then once I reduce, I'm going to cut this in half, and then you're going to see what's going to happen. So let me go ahead and reduce. I'll cut in half and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so now that I've reduced this, I want to reduce it to 8 inches, but I actually reduced it to 9 inches. So I reduced it quite a bit, and I'm just going to cut it directly down the middle. So you're going to get your ruler and measure that. And then I'm going to put these pieces together, just like that. And I'm going to make sure that it's even all the way down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get it into a square. So now that it's like this, I'm just going to push it this way. I'm going to push it this way. And just push everything into a square. Get my ruler out of the way and then slice right down the middle. Now that I have this, I am going to figure out, do I want it like this? Do I want it like this? And that's my dog, I'm so sorry. And that's it. And now I'm going to show you how to do the veneer. Okay, so now we're ready to lay down our slices from our cane that we made. This is scrap clay. I just rolled it out on this thickest setting and cut it into a symmetrical little rectangle here. So here is our little design. And what I decided to do is actually cut this in half again. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that in half. And I'm going to put it together. So, because I want to have squares, big squares, not rectangles. So I can decide to put it like that or like that. And I think I'll put it together like this. So I'm just going to make sure everything's lined up. And again, like I said before, you can continue reducing this if you want, and it's just going to make your design much smaller. And see all these little, remember these little fuchsia rolls we put in there, how small it is now? The lines, they're incorporated in the whole piece. So that's why I just have to be careful how much color you want to show. Like the yellow, just that little piece of yellow really shows up in the design, but I like it. Okay, so I'm just making sure this is all binded together. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a slice. Now this you need to be careful when you're cutting this because you don't want it too thick and you don't want it too thin. Let me just put this on the side here. Now, what you want to do is don't hold your knife like this. Hold it like this. Get to where you want to cut it and slice right down, being careful that it stays one size. So we have that. I'll cut another slice. Should have just turned it this way. And also important to put it in the fridge or let this sit overnight before you cut it. See, it was a square, but now it's back into a rectangle because I should have let it sit a bit more. Anyway, and I'm just going to set it on this piece because I want to have the background for me to adhere it to. So I'm going to put that there, push it down gently. And then I'm going to put the second piece here, and I'm going to fill up my whole square. Now, you can decide to make a piece long and then put these on to make a cuff bracelet. But I'm just making a veneer because I'm going to be cutting these out and making cabochons with it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to continue slicing. And then we'll roll it out. Always gently roll it out. And then we'll start cutting it up. Isn't that a great little design? We started this and not even knowing what we're going to make, and this is what came out. So this is the fun part, just putting it all together. And let me do this because I don't want to bore you. And once I've laid them all out, I will show you what to do next. Now that I have them all laid out, I have high spots and low spots. You can run your hand across it, you'll feel it. But now I'm just going to push them down gently, not to distort my design, just going to push them down so they're really sticking to the back. And making sure everything is stuck together. I'm going to see some holes and I'm going to see some gaps, but don't worry. Then I will take my roller gently. I'm not going to mash this down. I'm just gently rolling over, and what's this doing is just bonding everything together. I have a few high spots, so I'm just going to work on those areas. And rub my hand across it, maybe go this way. Again, gentle. Now when I look at it, I still have a few little gaps here, so I'm just going to push down. That's what's great about clay. It can still be manipulated. And then I'll just cut the ends. And now I have my veneer ready to apply to a cabochon. So you pick it up with your blade, running it across like this. And here's your veneer. So the next step, what we'll do is we'll start shaping our cabochons. All right, so now I have my cutters out. I have some ovals, I have square, I have round. You can make little itty bitty ones. So, but first you want to get your scrap clay. I wouldn't use a brand new color because this is going to be covered. So depending on the size, just pull yourself off a piece and then you're going to shape it into the shape you want. So if you want a perfect circle, get yourself a cutter, or if you want to make an odd looking shape, you can do that too. Now this, you'll do this depending on how thick or how high you want your cabochon to be. So what I'm doing now is just rolling into a ball. Okay, so let me just put this aside. And I have myself a little ball. You can get yourself some cabochon makers, like shapes, and you just push that in there, but I just like to wing it. So I'm just gonna gently push it down. First one, I'll probably just make a circle. I like these circle cabs. So now that I've pushed it down, I'm going to take my round cutter and I'm just going to cut right down. I don't know where the one is one size smaller, but what I would recommend is if you have one size, just one size smaller, one size bigger, cut the circle with the one size smaller, and then you take your veneer here. I'm just going to move this aside. I should pick it up with my blade, but I didn't. I'll just put that aside. And now the fun part, you just put your cutter where you want to slice. And just give me a minute. I'm just going to find something that's interesting. And I'll probably go right here. If you can see, sorry, what I'm doing. I'm just going to choose that little spot right there. Cut that down. And what I'll do, because it's exactly the same size, it's just going to sit on top like this. And I kind of want it to wrap around. So what I'll do, that's why I suggest having two sizes. And I'm just going to push this down. Don't worry about fingerprints. You can get yourself those thin surgeon's gloves if you wanted to. But what I've learned is, well, first of all, I see a lot of people with the gloves, but a lot of people, they say pet your clay. So you're checking for high spots and you're just petting your clay. But I'll do that once it's on the piece here. Okay, now I'm going to take my blade and just gently saw back and forth to lift that up. And see, that little thing is not right in the middle, but it doesn't matter. And now, again, just decide how high you want it. And then I'm just going to lay this right on top. And I'm just going to smooth it around, stretching, making sure that I don't distort the design at all. See, now there's a little hole still showing there, right there. But Now I'm using these to wrap in wire, or I may do some bead embroidery. So again, I'm just making sure there's no lumps. Because let's say you're making these to sell, and you're making a piece of jewelry and you wrap it and it's beautiful. When someone picks it up, they touch your jewelry. They touch it, and if they feel lumps and bumps, even though it's absolutely gorgeous, they're going to, ugh, it's not quite what I thought it would be. So just be careful of that. Now, and then you're going to turn it and just take your time with this. Now, see the bottom? That's not so pretty, right? It's scrap clay that we used. So what I'm going to do is just get myself a piece of black that I have here. And I'm going to just cut myself a circle. Pop that out and set this right on top. And just push down, make sure it's bonded. Now, the other materials I didn't mention that you will probably want to get if you really start doing this and actually selling your pieces. You can, see there's a little gap here. I'm just going to play with it and push it down and pinch everything together and just take my time. If it doesn't reach the bottom, I'll probably just put a very thin strip of black here. But with this piece, I'm most likely going to wire wrap it. And if I bead embroider it, the beads are coming up, so I'm not too worried. But if I were to sell this piece on its own, then I would make sure it's absolutely perfect all the way around. Okay, so the other things you're going to need to finish this off at the end once it's baked, you'll need some wet dry sandpaper in 3 or 4 different grits. What I'm using for now, because that's all I could find, was a 320 grit, a 400, and a 600. And I'll show you how to do that, because after it's baked, you just sand it with water. That gets off any lumps and fingerprints, and it shines it up. And then you want to put a glaze on afterwards. So I'm going to play around with this, because otherwise you're going to see me shaping and petting and for hours. But isn't that fabulous? Now, we're not done. I'm going to put this in the oven. So because like the package usually will say 275 and put it in for 15 minutes. That depends on the thickness of the clay you're putting in. So for a cab this size, I'll probably put it in for 45 minutes. But I'm going to keep checking it. Every 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to open the oven and check it. So I put this on a pie sheet, on a pie plate, and on top of parchment paper. And I just let it bake. And once it's fully cooled, then we will move on to the next step. So I'm going to, with the rest of my veneer here, I'm going to make other caps, different sizes, different shapes. And also what I forgot to mention is if you want to go ahead and make a hole, now's the time. Especially for wire weaving, when you want to wrap it, it's nice to have a channel to put it through. So you can decide where you want it, and I like things to be not completely symmetrical, so I will probably, this is just a pokey tool, technical term, pokey tool, and I'm going to gently twist it, turn it, and pop it right through. I'm not going to push down because now they have a channel through the clay, and I'm just going to turn it and go through here. So now it's ready for the oven for me. Okay, so I'm going to make myself a few more shapes, and then we're going to look at all our gorgeous pieces when we're done. Okay, so I have some cabs in front of me. I made a square. I made a funny little shape here. Could make a pendant like this or whatever. We'll see. And, you know, and two little itty bitty ones here. Now, I got my sandpaper wet dry. Very important that it's wet dry, because if you use just any old sandpaper, once you wet it, it's just the grit's going to come off. So just go, I think it's in the painting section. Okay. So what I did, I cut off myself some pieces, and ones that I didn't see, I just put like the grit on there. So I want to do 320, 400, then 600. So let's start with one cab. I have myself a little bucket of water, a little thing of water, and I'm just going to put it in the water like that. And then I'm just going to rub it across. Now, I suggest you do this for a minute per grit. Now, I'm not going to do it for a minute because we're on a video. But because I petted my clay and I did everything I could to avoid as much as I could in this process, I think we'll be okay. So I'm just going to, because you know what, you'll notice when you bring these cabs, the colors are so vibrant when we put them in, and then they become very dull when you get it out of the oven. So this process is very important. So I have this, I'm just going to put it back in the water. Again, just fast forward me if you're, you know, you don't want to watch this process. But this is really important. So I'm just going over the edges. And now I'm just going to, you know what, it's a lot smoother. So now I'm just going to move this one aside, dip it back in my water, and now I'm going into the grit just a little bit. The 400 grit, I think it is. I would Google grits of sandpaper, what to use with clay, because really I just got what I found in my hardware store. This could not be what I need to use, right? And by doing this, what happens is it gets, look how much clearer that is. I'm going to show you next to this one. This one looks a little bit dull. This is a lot shinier. No shine, shine. And once we put the glaze on, because if you put glaze on right away, what happens is it doesn't shine the way it should. So you do need to do this process. But again, like I said, pet your clay, do everything you can, get rid of all the bumps before, and then you're not going to be going crazy doing this. This process I don't like. I prefer creating, but this is part of the creative process, I guess. So I'm going to work on this a little bit. I'm not going to do all of them in front of you, but I'm going to show you the glaze that we put on afterwards and what that does to your piece. This is the glass grit. And wow. Like I said, do about a minute per sandpaper. Now I bought these in big sheets. I just cut them up, and I write the size or the grit on the back of it so I know what's what. Then you're going to take some Scott towel or just, oh wow. Sorry, I'm just mesmerized. Look at this piece. I didn't do this one yet, and look at this one. no shine, shine. It's getting all the imperfections out, all your fingerprints out, and oh my God, I can't wait to wrap this thing. Okay, so just continue doing this, and then I'm going to show you the next step to glaze, and then the next tutorial I'm going to do is actually show you the wrap, because I'm gonna do a wire wrap with one of these cabs. I don't know which one yet, because I haven't done any kind of wire wrapping lately because I had a block. But you know what? I went to clay and it broke the block. That's what happens. Okay, so I can be here for a long time with you guys. I'm just going to work on this, and then I'm going to show you the end product. Okay, so the last step, we've sanded this, made sure, and we feel it. There's no bumps, there's no fingerprints, there's no nothing. Now you have two choices. You can spray this with a clear glaze, which I did with my other ones, which I prefer. But I'm going to show you also this one, which is the Sculpey Satin Glaze. I don't really like this one. Why? Because I don't like, because when I put my brush in here, look, I'm going to just go over with the glaze, which is fine. It's wonderful. But I find I see some brush marks. So if you're not too crazy about, you know, oh, I see brush marks, who cares? Then use this. But I plan to sell these, and I prefer the spray glaze. Again, use what you want. Now, I'm just going over this, really trying to make sure I don't see brush marks, but you know what? In the end result, I always see them, but that's me. And what you'll do is do a few coats. It'll dry in about 15 minutes, and then you do another coat, and you do another coat. But for me, I prefer the spray glaze for me. Now, what you can also do, if you don't have spray glaze or this brush-on glaze from Sculpey, you can also do a resin. Okay, look it up on YouTube. I do use resin a lot, actually, and it gives it a glossy, glossy, glossy finish. But use jeweler's resin, because you don't want resin that looks yellow, yellowish. See, I'm rubbing this on, and I see the brush marks. So again, if you don't mind, do this. If it's for your own work and to give your work away, you know, like give your jewelry away as gifts, that's fine. But I'm more of a perfectionist. So for me, I'm going to do this one coat just to show you how to do it. And then I'm just going to spray it with a glaze, because it's even. I don't see the brush marks. And I am going to bring in, I just sprayed the other pieces outside. I'm not going to do this inside with this spray glaze, clear glaze, translucent. I'm going to show you the difference. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to show you the difference of the other ones. So we're done our cabs, and I just want to show you, this is the one that I brushed on, and everything else is the one I did with a spray. You don't really see a difference, but I see a difference. I prefer the spray than the brush on, because I don't like to see brush marks. So you can do all kinds of designs. I really hoped you loved this tutorial as much as I loved making it. And our next tutorial is, I'm actually going to get back into wire weaving and show you how to wire weave some of these cabochons. So if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And also, just so you know, I have a wire weavers closed Facebook page. It's called Wired Wire Weavers. And for you beaders, that I'm going to be showing some more bead embroidery to do with these pieces. It's beading tips and tutorials. So thank you for watching. And I hope you loved the tutorial. See you soon. Bye.